Hey everyone. First, I want to welcome you to my new OnlyFans page. It's going to be a little bit unorthodox what I'm doing here, admittedly, but I needed a safe space to be able to post this video as well as future content without fear of harassment or censorship. And before I get to what I plan to do with this page, I first want to address the massive elephant in the room. The allegations being made against me are very serious, and I take them seriously. It's why I took some time to myself these last few weeks. One, to sit with my legal team and figure out how best to respond. But more importantly, to sit with those I love, those closest to me, and assure them of what I will assure you now and what they already knew. These allegations of egregious misconduct are false. The rumors being spread around me online are lies, and they are offensive. But more concerning is that they're a smear campaign designed to discredit my credibility in order to cover up egregious, prejudicial misconduct, stretching from select crew members on X-Men 97 all the way to the top of Marvel Studios. And they're not just trying to discredit me using incredibly misleading press releases, but also through coordinated leaks and bot attacks, as well as anonymous scoops being given to tabloid sites and podcasters. You've maybe heard some of these. I've heard rumbling and whispers about Bo. Now, back when I was in high school, we called this gossip. Unlike then, today, luckily, I have a legal team who has forensic investigators tracking these attack scoops and leaks so that we can hold those responsible for defamation, harassment, and for inciting outright criminal threats of violence. Now, my lawyer told Deadline that this is Disney and Marvel's standard playbook. They have done this to other artists like me. With me, it's look at his Instagram. Doesn't he look thirsty? Isn't he a narcissistic egomaniac? Isn't it too vulgar, too sexual? This isn't someone celebrating their hard work or their journey in overcoming years of internalized racism and homophobia to finally become comfortable in their own skin. No, this is something shameful. This is smoke for a larger fire of predatory behavior. Growing up gay and Black in the South, I had to learn to accept that I am not everybody's cup of tea, and that I would, by virtue of just being me, rub some people the wrong way. And let's be honest, this is true of almost everyone. Personality conflicts happen, especially in creative environments like Hollywood. I've worked on a lot of series under some showrunners who have imparted some lessons to me that I tried to apply on X-Men 97. And now, having run a show, I look back with a newfound appreciation for the struggles those showrunners faced. And I think the biggest takeaway I've had is that nobody is perfect. We all make mistakes. Most of us are just trying to do our best. And usually, grace and empathy are the best response to conflict and adversity. If you think about it, that's what X-Men 97 season 1 was all about. But what's happening with Marvel, what's been going on here, is unlike anything I've ever experienced in this industry. And it takes me back to those days of bigotry and antiquated personalities in the South. Now, the way things have also escalated behind the scenes in ways that I haven't been able to talk about, as well and on top of the emotional trauma that was inflicted upon me while working on this series, has taken me to some pretty dark places. Places I'm not proud of. Places that would have gotten a whole lot worse had friends and coworkers and family not rallied around me these last few months to remind me of who I am. Because honestly, I'm just defeated. And I'm tired. And I'm a nobody who made one great show. And now I'm a nobody being viciously punished for it. And to spend decades fighting for a seat at a table where people like me usually don't get to sit. I think I can count the number of Black gay showrunners or just Black showrunners in Hollywood on one or two hands. To just sacrifice everything and to do so much hard work to get there and then have it all stolen. And your character assassinated because of lies is just, I don't know. As easy as it would be to hide away and run, I don't think I have a choice. We talk a lot about doing better, being the change we want to see. But that doesn't happen if we remain silent. No matter how tired or defeated or how scared we may be, no matter if our reputation is being dragged through the mud in the public eye. Ironically, this is the central creed of X-Men, right? And all those at Marvel and those crew members who colluded with them on X-Men 97 can sleep at night knowing what I know, knowing what they've done. I can't, and I haven't. Because the price of me being silent is other artists walking into that studio thinking that they are safe and protected, and later finding out that they're working for individuals who would profit off of shows and movies like Black Panther and X-Men, all the while themselves being the very villains those heroes face and fight every day just to have the right to be their authentic selves. When I took the job on X-Men, I was told that they valued my perspective and experiences as a queer Black man. And I made it very clear to them that I was not going to be the Black stamp of approval on the project. So it was agreed that due to the themes of the X-Men, as well as my experience and the just general excitement around my pitch, that I would supervise all areas and stages of production. Now, with this, I assumed the studio would protect me from those who maybe harbor biases against having someone who looks, speaks, dresses, and thinks like me as their creative leader and boss. Now, why was this important to me? Guys, just turn on the news. It's common for minorities in leadership roles to not be taken seriously, to have their credentials and their resumes continually questioned by those above and below them, and just generally be written off as a diversity hire who didn't earn the job. I thought Marvel would have my back against this stuff. Instead, the studio looked the other way as my identity was weaponized by Marvel execs and select crew members to undermine me, create a humiliating environment where people felt emboldened to use the same dog-whistling stereotypes favored by bigots for decades. He's big, he's intimidating, too opinionated, angry, emotional, flamboyant, dramatic, a pervert. When I called these things out, they pivoted to attacking my talent, accusing me of being too much of a fanboy. They openly resented me fighting for the fans, fighting for the comics. They accused me of playing karaoke with those comics. And repeatedly, I was told by these individuals that we should be doing our own version of X-Men, writing new stories and not adapting those written by old white men, by which I could only assume they were referencing individuals like Stan Lee and Chris Claremont. Now, my response to this was to try to calmly outline that fans didn't want to see our version of the X-Men. They, like me, want to see the characters that they have loved for decades faithfully adapted on screen. Now, in return, these individuals would then attempt to sabotage me on my job, painting me as abusive when I declined to make wholesale changes to characters, when I declined to have Jubilee fire plasmoids for her mouth, or make gang signs, or paint the sky with plasmoids in the shape of middle fingers. What was worse, and what really just hurt, is as I fought for when I felt that fans and audiences want, I was then being painted as being uncollaborative, too difficult, too much of a fanboy, and one executive's favorite phrase to fire at me: Bo, you need to learn to turn your comic book collector brain off. They chose to treat me as a child that needed to be scolded, even as I was drawing upon 40 plus years of dealing with ignorance just like theirs, having survived traumas that they cannot even begin to imagine, never mind understand or appreciate. Maybe, and yes, needless to say, look around me, I take X-Men very seriously. Specifically, I take this specific show's legacy very seriously. It saved my life as a kid, and I know it did others. So when individuals refer to it as just a cartoon, that bumped me. Now, luckily, as I said before, I grew up learning how to spot these types of tactics, these antiquated personality, this type of scapegoating and stereotypes. And so knowing that, and then with the help of the amazingly talented crew on X-Men 97, was still able to get X-Men 97 across the finish line, even if doing so cost me my job and now my reputation. So this gets to the bigger, larger question, the bigger picture. What would cause Disney and Marvel to attack me this bad, to come at me this hard? I'm going to try to break it down as simply as I can, while operating within the parameters of some NDAs that my lawyer and I are still working out. I think the simplest way to put it is that the things I witnessed while working at Marvel were beyond wrong and unethical. It is wrong for a crew producer who repeatedly white-splains to his boss to respond to his boss's concerns on January 9th of this year with, "This has jack shit to do with me being white." It is wrong for that same producer to repeatedly joke to the crew about how he showed my thirst traps on Instagram to his underage son, and his kid is wondering, do they need to buy me shirts for Christmas? It is wrong for this same producer when I notify them that one of our leads is having a potentially exploitative sexual relationship with a PA, for this producer to bury my report and actually go to the individual in question and let them know that I had ratted on them so that they can then work together to discredit me. It is wrong for Marvel execs to roll their eyes when I raise concerns about being bullied and targeted on account of my identity, and to tell me to deal with it because these individuals are amazingly talented. It is wrong for an artist on the show to repeatedly denounce all men as jerks and to accuse me of failing the cause because I am keeping a jerk like Cyclops as leader of the team. It is wrong to question my intelligence because my muscles don't make me look like a writer, or to talk about how I am fit with 2 C's. It is wrong for Marvel leadership to pat themselves on the back while giving me notes on a Blade script, a table of white men laughing as they tell me, "Hey, look at us. We hired a young Wesley Snipes to write the new Blade movie." And one of the reasons I wanted to do this video is so that you can see that Wesley Snipes and I look nothing alike. And it is wrong when I suggested this past February that we reach out to RuPaul's Drag Race to find a way to promote X-Men with a beloved queer franchise on that show, to be told by Marvel that they wouldn't want to alienate certain audiences. It is wrong for their publicity department to list homosexuality as a hot button issue to avoid alongside school shootings, the Gaza conflict, and abortion. It is wrong for Marvel execs to foster inappropriate professional relationships with the artist I mentioned prior, so as to push others out of the creative process who are not like them based on their identities. It is wrong for these 2 same individuals to write off an interracial relationship between Bishop and another white character as creepy and something that belongs on Skinamax. Of course, these two individuals did not have any issues with far racier moments in season 1 involving white characters. And what I want to point out here is these anonymous scoops that keep on using the word creepy. I heard that term from these individuals multiple times. It is wrong for this lead artist to relay to me at a company barbecue in 2021 that her husband felt that I must get a lot of dick based upon how I look. It is wrong to paint me as a nightmare for advocating for more representation for characters like Storm and Bishop and more. And if you want to know why they're coming at me so hard, why they're risking basically just lying to you, it's because this is not even the half of it. Ultimately, the last straw for me was when I got to Atlanta to work on Blade, and I saw others being treated like me, being told that someone needed to crack the whip around here. Crack the whip in Atlanta, Georgia, at Tyler Perry Studios, which were formerly barracks during the Civil War. Now, after witnessing this and far worse incidences that I am not yet prepared to talk about on Blade, I relayed my concerns to Marvel on September 6th, 2022, hoping to work with them to do better, urging them to reflect on the biases that we all have. In return, I was removed from the project in the middle of moving to Atlanta for production, and then had my role on season 2 of X-Men 97 aggressively marginalized, despite the integrity of my work in season 1. And this is going to be very important because the quality of my work on X-Men 97 has been spoken about by Marvel several times, like Brad Winterbaum's March 15th interview with Entertainment Weekly following my exit of the show. It happened again on May 17th, also in EW, when Winterbaum insisted that they were following my blueprint and my vision for season 2. Now, this raises a question. If all these rumors and this pattern of egregious misconduct were true, why would you have the head of Marvel TV making such statements to the press when fans reacted badly to me being dismissed, when they began demanding me back? Why not say all of this then? But when I spoke out about the Emmys and them stripping me of my season 2 credits based upon a gay pride post, then all these narratives appear. And actually, if I really think about it, the season 2 credit issue and them stripping is a perfect example of the type of manipulative dishonesty they're going for here. Disney has alleged that I breached my exit agreement several times. Breaches, much like egregious, sound so bad, so serious. I must have done something terrible after my exit to make them strip me of my credits. But here's what really happened. The exit agreement, which they coerced me to sign under threat of removing all of my credits, lacked certain civil rights protections that California law requires, thus rendering it invalid. My legal team notified them of this, but still, Marvel persisted for months to harass and stalk my social media, looking for any ammo possible to attack me. Now, what were these breaches, though, they're actually referencing? It was me talking to you, the fans. It was me speaking about Pulse after episode 5 on Twitter and how much of an influence it was on the vision of the series. It was me at a bar, speaking at a screening event, talking about how I had outlined 5 seasons of the show. It was me thanking fans on Twitter and Instagram for their support, highlighting cast and crew, speaking positively about Marvel, posting fan art. These were the offensive breaches. And somehow they justify this campaign to erase me from the show I created, with Marvel going so far as to actively blacklist me from third-party non-Disney Comic-Con panels this past summer, all the way to denying me invites and blocking me from attending award shows like the Emmys, which we've talked about. And as I go through all this, I really have to wonder just how X-Men Season 1 managed to turn out as well as it did. And then I think about the crew. The overwhelming majority of the crew of X-Men 97 are some of the most talented, kind-hearted people I have ever met. They're insanely talented. And I still feel so honored that they trusted me and my vision and worked so hard to make it a reality, despite Marvel and others on the crew who would have had us deliver something wholly subpar for the sake of their egos. I have received a lot of messages from them, a lot of messages of support and love, and they have gotten me through some really dark times, the dark times I was talking about earlier. But I was also infuriated to learn that Marvel publicity internally has been actively working to prevent them from speaking about their positive work experiences with me, going so far as to interrupt interviews they are giving to sites like IGN and forcing them to re-record answers that erase me or mitigate my contributions. They've been told not to give Bo too much credit or to not go overboard with how influential Bo was on the series. And when Marvel tells you to do something, comes with the implied threat of what will happen if you don't. And if the crew had any doubts, they just needed to look at what happened and what is happening with me right now. But actually, what concerns me the most out of these messages I have received is the fact that the X-Men 97 crew are still being abused, just like I was. Abused with impossible pipeline demand that endanger their health and safety, and studio politics that create a toxic environment that turns individuals against one another, stokes paranoia to ensure compliance. These people are tired, they're scared, some of them are broken, and they've been reaching out to me for help. And we've seen VFX artists try to raise awareness about the near criminal working conditions at Marvel. Nothing has changed. I had editors falling asleep at the wheel. I had individuals rapidly losing weight, having mental breakdowns. And when I reached out to Marvel about these safety issues, when I emailed them, the response I got was the same response I got when I reported prejudicial conduct. More retaliation. Now, in the end, the offenses Marvel and others have leaked are designed to distract you from what really offended them. As someone like me dared to speak truth to people like them. They wanted me to be the black stamp of approval on this project. I declined. They wanted to erase aspects of my personality that clashed or proved inconvenient with the misguided narratives they wanted to establish. I declined. They tried to intimidate me with both explicit and implied threats. I was not intimidated. Everything they have done since then has been designed not just to silence me and smear me, but to crush me and to remind me to know my role. So what next then? Honestly, it is so tempting to just drop all the names and receipts that I have online. It has been soul crushing watching the very same people who committed the above do press and podcast interviews, screening Q&As, Comic-Con panels, where they claim to be fans, while discussing a show that denounces the very prejudice and ignorance that they peddle. Honestly, this means you have actually already seen their faces and may already know their names. And should X-Men 97 win an Emmy, you'll see them again as some of the faces that take that stage to accept an award for a show about intolerance and identity are the very same people who disrespected mine and routinely wrote me off as a DEI hire. Tempting as it may be to just drop it all online, that would make me no better than them. I would prefer to present this evidence to Disney and Marvel and work with them so that those responsible are able to receive what I was not: a full and fair investigation away from the public eye, one that is confidential and that resembles some form of just ethical due process. Disney, Marvel, my team and I have already started your investigation. I have the receipts and the eyewitnesses, so long as you stop coercing them to lie. You can keep attacking me with lies and misinformation, and we can become the ugliest, most annoying version of that back and forth tennis ball meme. Or you can start acting like a studio that is worthy of a show like X-Men 90s. This is me, basically trying to do the right thing. And this is Marvel's chance to do the same. And just like with the past 4 years, I'm still willing, I'm still here, trying to help you seize the opportunity to do better. Now, while my legal team and I work to hold those accountable, and we will, I will be using this page to basically give fans and audiences what they have been asking me for months, which is behind the scenes content on how we created X-Men 97, as well as being able to just talk about other shows I've been on, other experiences, talk about writing as a craft, and all things nerdy, gay, and Black. This is also going to give me a great opportunity to highlight individuals on the show, unsung heroes, in my opinion, who have been also erased from press events due to studio politics or just generally because they support me. But what I'll also be doing is showing you how I baked the very trauma I was experiencing at Marvel into the show I was making for them. When Magneto talks about how they still come for you even if you play by their rule, when Storm laments how the more she used her gifts to help humans, the more they hated her, I did not write these lines by accident. This was me coping with being gay, Black, and open about it at Marvel Studios. Now, before I end, I want to thank everybody for just showing up, for listening. I know there will be people, many people, who for various reasons will not believe a thing I've said, who think I'm just pulling the diversity cards. But to those of you who do believe, and actually, now that I think about it, to those of you who don't but still took the time to watch all of this, thank you. Thank you for hearing me out. Because despite all of this, despite what I've endured and what I still yet will endure, the fact that we were able to give fans and audiences something like X-Men 97, something where people just felt so seen and heard, makes all of this work. Ultimately, it's my love for X-Men that is compelling me to speak the truth today, full well knowing that it could likely end my career. One last thing that bears mentioning. Across 3 projects and in 6 years of working for Marvel, I was never once spoken to, disciplined, warned by HR. That is, until 4 days after I sent a text message to a Marvel employee saying that I no longer felt safe at the studio as a gay Black man. This conversation with HR, 4 days after I sent that text, was the same conversation where I was dismissed. Thank you for listening. I'm really looking forward to the content we're going to be providing here, to discussing all things nerdy and X-Men. And so I will see you next week. Thank you.